I'm Rolly Munro. I'm here to introduce you to my hollowing tools. We have a couple of different varieties. The first I'd like to introduce you to is the mini hollower, and this is the first of the two, which is a standard half-inch shaft with the single link and the cutter head. The second option is a 5/8 shaft, link and cutter head, and this is an accessory. This is the mini shear scraping set, articulated scraper, and it has again the standard half-inch shaft, the articulated link and the scraper unit. This is the standard 12mm tool. It sports a long aluminium handle which is upholstered with EVA, has a knob to secure the tool shaft. It also orients the tool head while working. It has a 5/8 inch shaft, a link and a cutter head. This is the standard shear scraper, which employs, just like the mini tool, a link and a shear scraper blade at a 45-degree angle. All mini tools come supplied with a sharpening spindle, three keys. One's an M4 for the links, one is a M2.5 Allen key for the depth gauge setting, and the other is a T10 Torx Allen key for supporting or unscrewing the cutter. So to show you the assembly of the cutting tool, I need to disassemble the tool tip. So I will unscrew the depth gauge from the cutter base, exposing the top side of the cutter base and the underside of the depth gauge. The depth gauge slides in a groove on the surface of the cutter base. The idea is that will stop the cutter base, the depth gauge rotating while on top of the cutter. Each articulated mini scraper comes with two Allen keys. One is an M4 for the M6 screw, one is an M3 for the M4 screw. We have two washers, the scraper unit, the scraper blade itself, and the scraper link. Okay, this is the assembly of the 12mm or standard tool. Every tool comes supplied with a sharpening spindle, like this. Keys for the assembly and disassembly of the tool. An M4 for the M6 screws underneath. An M3 for the depth gauge adjustment. And an T20 for the cutter Torx screw. To look inside the tool head, the M3 Allen key unscrews this, exposing the bottom side of the depth gauge and the top side of the cutter base. This is the cutter, this is the T20 Torx screw, and obviously the depth gauge. Each large scraper is comprised of these parts. They require an M3 Allen key, an M4 Allen key for the large screw here. This is the link, or the base, the cutter base support. It has a cutter or a scraper there. It has a large penny washer to sit underneath the scraper, a flat washer that sits on top, and a spring washer. You may ask why I've designed a tool using a depth gauge and cutter combination, as well as a modular system. Well, first, I needed a tool which would work through a reasonably small hole and cut safely as far as possible from the tool rest without the chance of a dig-in. And two, I discovered that for complex internal forms that a link system would allow me to configure the tool to any form I wanted, thus allowing a great deal of freedom and a great deal of scope for the tool.